Okay, so get ready because today we are going to be like totally rethinking what we thought we knew about global missions. We're diving into this blog post that I found.
Okay.
It's called Stepping Back to Move Forward, Empowering Local Leaders in Global Missions.
Interesting.
And it's basically saying that supporting local leaders is actually like way more effective than the traditional Western-led approach to missions.
Yeah. You know, it's funny because I was just reading something the other day that was talking about how
Yeah.
a lot of these missions, they flop
Right.
because there's not a good understanding of the local context. And like,
Oh, totally.
sometimes it can even be unintentionally harmful.
Yeah, you go in wanting to help and you end up kind of messing things up more.
Exactly.
So how does this blog post suggest that we move away from that?
Well, it really advocates for this like radical shift in mindset.
Right.
Instead of just jumping into like quote unquote fix things,
Yeah.
it suggests becoming what the author calls the best second person.
Okay, the best second person.
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious, like, what does that even mean?
So basically it means recognizing that local leaders are the true experts in their communities, right?
Right, they're the ones who live there.
Exactly. They're the ones who live there. They have the cultural insights. They have the trust of the community.
Mm-hmm.
And they're the ones who really understand all the challenges and the opportunities.
Yeah.
So instead of leading, the second person focuses on empowering them.
So it's less like hero of the story and more like trusty sidekick.
Exactly. Yeah. Like the reliable Robin to their Batman.
Okay, I like that analogy.
So the blog breaks down the second person role into three key aspects:
Okay.
encouragement, mentorship, and assistance.
Interesting. Okay, so let's unpack those a little bit. What would those roles actually look like in a real-world mission setting?
Okay, so let's say you're working with a local leader who has this vision for a community garden project.
Okay.
Encouragement might look like consistently affirming their leadership, reminding them of their strengths, especially when they face setbacks.
Oh, that's so important.
Yeah, just that constant, like, you got this.
Yeah, you know what you're doing.
Exactly.
That seems so simple, but I bet it's really powerful.
It is. And so then you have mentorship.
Okay, mentorship, what does that look like?
So that could involve sharing your knowledge of project management or fundraising strategies.
Mm-hmm.
But the key here is remembering you're not imposing solutions.
Right.
It's about providing tools and letting the local leader adapt them to their own context.
So you're not saying this is how it has to be done. You're saying here's some things that might help,
Precisely.
but you decide what works best in your community.
Exactly.
I like that.
And then finally, assistance.
Okay, assistance.
That could mean helping them access resources, connecting them with networks they wouldn't have reached on their own,
Oh, yeah.
or even just offering practical support with logistics.
Like the nitty-gritty stuff?
Exactly.
So it sounds like being an effective second person requires a really specific skill set.
It does.
What qualities would you say are essential for someone to thrive in this role?
That is a great question.
Yeah.
I would say, first and foremost, active listening skills.
Oh, yeah.
You need to be able to truly hear and understand the needs and perspectives of the local community and their leaders.
Yeah. If you're not listening, you're not really supporting their vision, are you?
You're not, you're just kind of imposing your own thing.
Right.
And then I would also say you need a healthy dose of cultural sensitivity and humility,
Okay.
because your way is not the only way.
Oh, absolutely not.
And you have to be open to learning from the people that you're trying to help.
It seems like humility is a recurring theme in this blog post.
It is.
It even argues that humility is key to ethical mission work.
Yes.
That's a fascinating perspective. I'd love to hear you elaborate on that a little bit.
Yeah, so there's this one example that really stuck with me. It's about this mission project that unintentionally caused harm
Oh, no.
because they didn't consult with the local community about their actual needs.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and the project ended up disrupting their traditional practices and creating more problems than it solved.
So even with all the best intentions in the world,
Yeah.
you can really mess things up if you're not careful.
Exactly, and that's where humility comes in.
Okay, so how does humility help us avoid those kinds of pitfalls?
Well, humility allows you to approach a community not as the expert with all the answers,
Okay.
but as a partner who's eager to learn and collaborate.
Right.
It helps you check your assumptions at the door
Mm-hmm.
and recognize that the people you're working with have valuable knowledge and experience to share.
So it's about building genuine relationships,
Yeah.
authentic connections,
Yes.
rather than just like coming in and being like, I'm here to fix you.
Exactly. And that's when the real magic happens, when Western missionaries and local leaders work together with mutual respect and humility.
Mm-hmm.
You create this powerful synergy.
Mm.
You get sustainable solutions, stronger communities, and a truly collaborative approach to change.
That's beautiful. That is a really inspiring vision.
Yeah.
But it also makes me wonder, what happens when those traditional power dynamics are flipped? What does success look like when the second person actually steps back and allows the local leader to take center stage?
That is where it gets really interesting. And the blog highlights some truly remarkable examples of what can happen when local leaders are empowered.
Like what?
Well, for instance, there's this story about a group of women in rural Kenya,
Okay.
and they had this really amazing idea for a sustainable farming initiative.
Cool.
But they were lacking the resources and the connections to actually get it off the ground.
Yeah, I can imagine that's super frustrating when you have the idea
Yeah.
and the passion, but you don't have the means to make it happen.
Exactly. And that's where the second person stepped in.
Okay.
Not to take over the project,
Right.
but to connect them with training funding and mentorship.
Oh, wow. So they were like the bridge
Exactly. Yeah, they were the facilitator.
between the community and the resources that they needed.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And the results were remarkable.
Really?
Yeah, the women were able to launch their initiative, and it just flourished.
That's great.
It not only improved their own livelihoods, but it also created this ripple effect
Wow.
throughout the whole community.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
It's like the perfect illustration of the blog's message, right?
It really is.
Like stepping back doesn't mean being passive.
Right.
It means using your skills and your resources to empower others.
Exactly. And recognizing that lasting change comes from within.
Yeah, not from somebody coming in and telling you what to do.
Right.
This is what's blowing my mind about all of this, is that this approach, it's not just relevant to global missions, right?
It's not, no.
The principles of empowerment and humility and collaboration,
Yeah.
those are relevant to any field where you want to make a positive impact.
Oh, totally. Imagine applying these principles in education.
Okay.
Instead of just delivering information, teachers could become second person, empowering their students to take ownership of their learning.
Yeah, to become like little mini leaders.
Exactly, to explore their own passions,
That's cool.
develop their own solutions.
So instead of sage on the stage, your guide on the side,
I love that. Yeah.
helping the students kind of figure out their own path.
And that would be so empowering for the teachers, too.
Totally. Yeah.
And think about community development. Instead of coming in with these prepackaged solutions, organizations could focus on supporting community-led initiatives.
Right. So you're not just saying, here's the answer.
Right.
You're saying, how can we help you figure out your own answer?
Exactly.
It flips the power dynamics on their head.
It does, and it creates a more just and equitable world.
Yeah, where everybody has a chance to contribute their talents and their perspectives.
Yeah.
This is all very inspiring, but it's also making me wonder, how do we put this into practice?
Yeah.
It's one thing to talk about empowering others, but how do we actually make it happen, in our daily lives?
That's the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
And I think the blog gives us some practical guidance.
Okay.
It starts with, shifting our mindset.
Okay.
You have to let go of that need to be the hero.
Okay. So step out of the spotlight a little bit.
Yes, and embrace the power of collaboration.
Okay, so first step, recognize we don't always have to be the ones calling the shots.
Right.
We can make a difference by supporting others to lead.
Yes, and then it's about identifying our own unique strengths and resources.
Okay.
And finding creative ways to use them to empower others.
Okay, so it's not about finding the one-size-fits-all solution.
Right.
It's about figuring out what our individual contribution can be.
Exactly. And remembering that sometimes the most impactful thing we can do is step back, offer support, and trust others to lead the way.
We've been given a lot to think about today.
We have.
It's a whole new way of thinking about impact and leadership.
It really is.
It's left me with a question that I think is worth pondering. So if we're really serious about this whole best second person thing, if we're really committed to empowering others to lead,
Yeah.
how do we know when to step back and when to step up?
That is the question, isn't it?
Yeah, how do we find that balance between offering support
Right.
and taking initiative?
That's a really good question, and it's something I've struggled with too.
Yeah.
There's no easy answer,
Right.
but I do think the blog gives us some good guidance.
Okay.
It really emphasizes communication
Okay.
and active listening.
So talking to the people that you're trying to work with.
Exactly, asking them what would be most helpful to you,
Oh, I like that.
or, how can I best contribute to your vision?
So putting the ball in their court a little bit.
Yeah.
Instead of just assuming we know what's best.
Exactly, because we don't always know what's best.
Right.
We have to be willing to adjust our approach.
Mm-hmm.
You know, sometimes stepping back is the best way to empower someone.
Okay.
And other times it might mean offering our skills or our resources.
Well, being flexible.
Yes.
Adaptable.
Exactly. And remembering that empowerment, it's an ongoing process.
Right. It's not just a one-time thing.
It's about building those relationships.
Yeah.
And making sure that everyone feels valued.
What a great conversation this has been.
It really has.
It's really got me thinking about how I can be a better second person.
Yeah, me too.
So if you're feeling inspired out there, we want to hear from you.
Yes.
Share your thoughts in the comments.
What resonated with you?
Yeah.
What are some ways you can imagine putting these principles into practice?
Absolutely.
We'd love to hear your insights and keep this conversation going.
Thanks for joining us for another deep dive.
Yeah, this was a good one.
Until next time, keep diving deep
And keep making a difference.
out there